But we're going live and we're talking about Claude and how people are using Claude, why Claude, Claude chat to Claude co-work to Claude code, all that kind of stuff. That's really what we're talking about today. So hope you'll join me on this conversation because I can tell you that if you know how to use it properly, any sort of AI tool, but if we're talking about Claude specifically, it can really transform your work, your life, your business, and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to make sure people can hear me. I see there's Brian. Hey, Brian, can you hear me speaking? Because if you can, please put in the chat. I just want to make sure. Can you hear me speak? Because if you can't, then I will change this. Yes, you can hear me speak. Hooray! Now I'm excited. So I'm going to talk about Claude Code, and what I want to talk about this is the reason why this is really important. I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you kind of what the topic kind of is here, but that's really what I want to get into. So like over here, yeah, so I'm going to talk about from Claude Code to Claude Chat, from Claude Chat to Claude Code, and how to actually build your AI brain and kind of how it all works. So I'm going to go through these slides with you as well, but I want to make sure you're all kind of cool with that. So, why Claude? So obviously AI tools are a big deal here. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about my journey with AI and how I've leveraged it, and then I'm going to talk about how I got introduced to segue from ChatGPT to Claude. Then I'm going to talk about the three big things that I've done to build with Claude and where I'm at now. And I'll start with the opening. And if you're here in the conversation, feel free to ask questions, put comments in there. Please share this with other people to bring them to the room. We'd love to get more people on the call. So I'd love to have that. But to get people on the call to talk about what we're going to talk about. And yes, this is recorded, of course, and we're live on Substack. I usually go live on Substack every Friday at 4 p.m. Some days I go a little bit earlier, but usually it's that unless I'm talking to somebody in 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 Europe or something. So number one, I'll say this. So when the internet first came along, I think I was trepidatiously moving along trying to figure it out, but then I realized it's here to stay. And even though it's big and bold and confusing, and even though there's probably not enough regulation as there should be, I should learn how to use it. And so I adopted that and became a digital immigrant of the internet. Then when social media came, that one I adopted right away. I was an early user. I was like, you know what? Social media is here to stay. There's probably not enough regulations around it, and it's a big, vast world, but I'm going to go right into it. So I went in there and I built half a million Twitter and on LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram, things like that. But the new one is AI. So AI, as far as I'm concerned, is here to stay. And so, and it's very big and vast and bold. It doesn't have enough regulations as we'd like. It's scary, but it's important for us to know how to use it. And so, about 2 years ago, I decided to invest in some, AI tools. So there was a lot of softwares out there being sold, the AI for this and AI for this and AI for this. And I basically invested in about a dozen of them. I said, you know what? I took in those grandfather deals or those lifetime deals. I decided to plunk some money down and invest about a dozen of them. And because I knew that the AI would get better and it would get better and better. And eventually some of these tools would be even better for me. About 6 months to a year in, some of them did get better. And some of them I realized I don't need them anymore. So I canceled about half, left about five or six, and then eventually started just using those ones. Meanwhile, ChatGPT was there, and that was the one that everyone was talking about. Versus, and I knew about Perplexity, and I dabbled in Perplexity and Gemini, Copilot, all the different ones that are out there. But I decided Grok. I decided to go with ChatGPT because that was the one that everyone was talking about. Plus, they all were sharing resources and tools on how to use it, which was helpful for me because people are creating custom GPTs, which I was leveraging. So, fantastic! I'll do that. And so ChatGPT was using it for the first kind of I guess the first uh, exclusively for a year. Then when did Claude come on the scene? Well, in my coaching program, so I run a coaching program, but I'm also part of a coaching program. So my coach has said, "Hey, Bobby, you should try Claude for email marketing. It's better than ChatGPT." I said, "Okay, great. Let me try it out." And I was quite impressed with how well it was able to emulate what I was trying to say and what I was trying to get at, and I thought that was really good. Then, my rule is whenever there's a technology or a platform or some hot new thing, if three people that I know, like, and trust, and I also think are really smart, tell me to do something, I'm going to explore it. So then the third person said, "Hey, Bobby, you should think about Claude." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And so that's when I decided to dabble a little bit. And what I saw was that, and the first thing I did was I tested it. So on ChatGPT, I had a custom GPT for how to do LinkedIn posts, and it would give me a custom prompt. It would then give me a custom. It would then use my brand voice and create a LinkedIn post. I would then use a custom GPT to analyze the post to make it better, and then and it would create this brand new one that was better, and then that's the one I would use as my final kind of thing. So I started testing, Claude to see what it could do, and then what I did is I had it analyze the stuff, and so I did 2 posts on ChatGPT, 2 posts on Claude. And what ended up happening was, despite the three-part process on ChatGPT to come up with an ideal LinkedIn post, Claude did it in 1 post, and it got the same score. And I was like, "Man, that's pretty good." And so at that point, once I saw that, I was like, you know what? I'm willing to transfer over. Now, in the beginning, how did I switch over? Well, and this is where I think, I'm a bit of a guinea pig. I try different things and dabble and dabble and dabble. And I always say that in the world of AI, since AI is here to stay, as I said, I used to say I'm riding the bicycle of AI. So some of you are walking. The experts out there are, driving super fast cars and airplanes and things like that. And but many of you are just sitting. And because I'm bicycling, I'm miles ahead of people who are walking. I'm many more miles ahead of the people who are just standing there. Most people are just sitting there, and I think it's important for us to get up, take a look around, start walking, try the shops on the streets, and see what's going on, and start to go and move along as you need to go. I think that's really important. And I see Brian said to you, I started with ChatGPT 10 months ago when I started my new career job, made the switch to Claude. Yeah, great. I'm glad. And so, he made the switch in January. I think I switched probably in March, or something like that. But I've been the guinea pig, and I've also been using my knowledge as I've learned and sharing it with my people in my TEDx coaching program, the people in my TLB club membership community, because I think they need to know like how it all works. And and so in the initial stages, um, I started using Claude Chat, and because I didn't know what else was there. So what I can tell you now is that I have now, and then I started getting more intense. There were some couple of members in my TLB club. So Ganesh he did a live stream with me about a month ago with John Aspinall, both guys who are total, tech and AI guys. And they're in my TLB club. So Ganesh runs a tech clinic next week, every end of the month on Wednesday. So you should come by if you guys want to come to it. But, he was telling me about, going into, to Claude and also how to set it up. And so I started learning about different things. But what happened was I went from Claude Chat to Claude Cowork to Claude Code. I'm gonna take you on that journey, and I'm gonna share what are some of the amazing things you can do, once you get to that next level. And again, I'm happy to take any questions you have. I normally do a live stream with somebody. I decided I couldn't find any, guest speakers with me, so I'm doing it on my own, but there's enough here for me to talk about that I can certainly share stuff, and I love the fact that you're all here talking about it. So, um, so when I decided to invest in Cloud Code, one of the things I did was like, look, I want to start from the fundamentals because I learned a lot from what happened with ChatGPT, like the setup and things like that, what I did wrong and whatnot. So I think that to me is a big part of it. I see Omni asked a question, but I'm not sure what the reference is. What makes you think they don't? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Maybe you mean like not everyone's using it. Um, Perhaps. Well, give me some clarification so I know what you're talking about. And There was a there was a study that came out in terms of the number of people actually who aren't using AI, and that's fine. Although again, how you define AI is entirely up to you. If you take an automatic DM response on Instagram, is that using AI? I guess so. I guess it's all perspective, which is totally fine. So what happened was I jumped up to Claude Code, and now I'm using Visual Studio Code, and now I'm looking at Grok and looking at agents and things like that. Well, one thing for me that's really important is that I'm a big believer on the one thing. So, I have people telling me, you know, Grok, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, Codex, and there's all these different things. Like, oh my God, I'm ADHD. So it's like, do I really want to do that? I don't think it's necessary. Having done all that, and what's interesting now that I had those 5, 6 platforms I was using, AI tools for, I now use hardly any. I think I've canceled all of them except for maybe one or two. because now my Claude Code could do all these things that I couldn't do before, which is amazing. And I was using other softwares and tools that I was paying for to do it. I'd rather pay for one place to do all these things. So, yeah, so I think that's really amazing. So, in the beginning, what I recommend is make sure the setting, like what are all the settings of Claude, like so if if you're using Claude, make sure you just have all the settings of what you want in your system, like and make sure you have all that set up. So take the time to set it up. This is the same rule for any sort of platform, whether you're setting up LinkedIn or other platforms. You know, understand the privacy, understand the settings, kind of take some time to understand that. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share my screen and show you a bit about kind of what I was doing. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So essentially, when I'm trying to build Claude, work on Claude, there's different processes, right? So like, again, there's run Claude Chat and projects and Claude Code and then the OS brain. There's so much you can do with this stuff. So what I want to do is kind of take you through that kind of journey, right? So let me show you kind of what happened. And I'm going to go to here. So you can see my screen here. So this is initially Claude and what I was doing. So back in the day, I had conversations going on. There were all these crazy conversations that I was doing, and that's fine. But the first thing I did is to understand the projects. So we set up projects, and so the first two things that I did was number one, I set up my chief of staff. Now, if you don't know what that is, there's articles out there how to set up your AI chief of staff. But what I did with this thing was we set up a bunch of files for this. But how this happened? See how it has the Bobby brand voice interviewed, the Bobby voice profile, the Bobby operator brief. So operator brief is actually the really cool one. So what I did was um, used my phone and I got Claude to interview me. And then there was a specific prompt that I used. It interviewed me to learn about who I am, what I do, a bit about my personality, ENFP, ADHD, DISC assessment, things I care about, all about my businesses, targets, my schedule, the people in my life, so my family, my professional circle, the people in my communities, other communities I'm part of, how I like to work, what drains me, right? What overwhelms me, my flow state conditions, my ADHD principles, and then, of course, what's called current open loops. And then the working system, how we start. And we basically set this all up. And what was amazing about this, what not to do, don't overwhelm me, don't get thirsty. Like it's great. So what was great about this is by setting up the chief of staff, it knows about my businesses, it knows about me and my personality, it knows about the people I work with, all the people that are in my life. And that's where it just knows me so well, which I think is fantastic. And as I learned it, as I was working with it, it would know more about me. So this to me was the first thing I did. I wanted to create a chief of staff that knows me and my business. And I'd say, if there's anything else missing, let me know. Let's finish this up. I use my phone and talk to the voice mode for probably maybe a 2 hour conversation, a 1 hour conversation, 1 to 2 hours. And it made the operator brief. Now I went through the operator brief. There were some things I thought I want to change. So I said, let's change this. Great. We changed it. So now I have a chief of staff. So this was a really big thing for me to create. Okay. Are you guys with me so far? All right, cool. So then the second thing I created was the Bobby brand voice. So what this and then there was another article, I think by Ruben Hassid, where he said, here's 100 questions to get to get Claude to interview you. So we did this long interview and I have the entire transcript here, but basically everything about me, what I believe in, all a question about my life, my family, things I care about, stories from my life. It's very long. It's very long. Uh, Here's like section 2, question 16, and it's the entire transcript of my conversation. It's super long. But what was amazing about this conversation was, but once I got through it, like it knew so much about me and how I work and how I operate that taking that transcript, it then created the Bobby brand voice, right? And so this is about me, the core identity, my brand statement, my core beliefs, how I talk, who I talk to, things I believe in, ideas, diction, how to close my story arcs, my editing habits, phrases I would never use, cliche avoidance. I don't like cliches. Marketing phrases I don't like. My voice and personality, I'm at certain tones. I have a bit of a humor. I talk about pop culture. I don't swear that much. So all these things, but this is great because it's the my mix, the different models that I have in my life, the frameworks that I use, things I never do, red flags. Like this is fantastic. So now I have the chief of staff, which basically helps organize my life. I then have the Bobby brand voice. And so having these projects, I started doing projects in here. So I'm looking at so here I was creating, a health journey. I was creating some co-work updates and creating a Medium application and looking at the agenda. So I found that this was really helpful to me. It really was. So the projects are a way to keep all the information and so that you're not using up a lot of tokens and usage, which was great. And so if I wanted to, organize my life, on the day of the week, I go through here, the Claude chat projects. If I want to write something in my brand voice, I put it in here. Or I create another one called the LinkedIn post engine, which takes all the LinkedIn stuff that I know and best tactics and tips. And I create a post in here, have it review it, then go to Bobby brand voice and have it go through here, see if you like it. What do you think about this? And that's kind of what it would do. And so that's where the projects were really, really good. Okay. So that's the first part. Hopefully you're with me on this so far. In the beginning of Claude Chat, you're talking with Claude, but then, it's not very efficient and you use up tokens and you have to keep reminding it of things about yourself. So having an AI chief of staff that knows you and how you work and your life and your business and schedule, that's great. The second piece was having the brand voice, which can speak as you and look at things in your voice and it knows you very, very well. So that's to me, that's the beginning things you got to do. Okay. Fix the settings. You set up your AI chief of staff. You then set up your brand voice. Once I had that foundation, then what I did was I then imported ChatGPT. So I downloaded the ChatGPT, my history, my archive of the last 2 years, and then I brought it in. Saying we already have the foundation, which is the gospel. But now bring in everything here, analyze this, and see what fits or what aligns or anything you want to ask me that I might want to adjust based on my history. And so I did that, and that was great. That's a great exercise over a couple of days honing it, and so now we have a much more sophisticated system. So that's kind of what I did, and I think that was the next step is using all the stuff I've done with Chat GPT. Okay, so there we go. So now we have that. So now I'm using Claude, and I'm using Claude Chat. I have projects set up which are great for focus and staying aligned to what you're doing, not using too many tokens. So that was the kind of the first stage. And going back to sharing my screen here. Ha ha ha. I keep sharing my screen. Sorry, guys. Let's see here. So going back to my yeah. So what happened to me? So the beginning was here Claude Chat project. So you ask a question, it answers. You carry everything back and forth, and this is really really good. Now, what do I have here? Yeah, yeah. So here we have Claude chat. So right, basically, this is the conversation where everyone starts with Claude, and it's where everyone almost stops. So what I like about it is that it's your thinking partner in a tab. The projects add memory. You can add your docs, your unique voice, your context, and that way it's more reusable. So it's more efficient that way. And what's great about the benefits I found was that like faster writing, better thinking. I still edited my pieces and whatnot. A great place to develop my ideas and, at this point, I was paying the $20 a month for Claude. Okay. Um, Now, but there was a ceiling, right? The ceiling was that it only knows what you paste in and it only acts when you carry the answer back out. So you are the messenger of the memory in the hand. So you still have to do a lot of work with it. So a lot of still more hand holding with Claude versus it doing stuff for you. You have to, you have to coach it. So then the next level is where we get into what we call Claude Chat, or sorry, Claude Cowork, right? So now this is jumping ahead here, but to me, the first level was Claude Chat and projects. I'm actually skipping. I didn't put anything about Cowork, but I'm going to talk about it. So then someone say, "Hey, Bobby, Cowork will do things for you and implement things for you." Oh, okay. What can it implement for? And so I was curious about what it did. So then when I went to Claude, so then I went to Claude Chat, or sorry, Claude Cowork, and that's not even here. Where the hell is it? No, it's not even here. Okay. Oh, oops. Oops. Okay. Well, it's not even here. Bu- 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 Huh. Okay, so I didn't see it anymore. So is it not even here anymore? Okay, great. Well, what I can tell you is that what did I do with Claude? What did I do with Claude Cowork? Well, simply put, with Claude Cowork, it makes you it implements things. So I said, hey, okay, fine. First test was, can you organize my laptop files? Is what I said. And as long as I gave it access to my laptop files, it was able to do stuff for me. Now, what did it do? I was actually pretty impressed. I'm going to show you actually what it did for me. Here's my files. So what it did was it organized my files under what we call archive, family, which is just me and my kids and my wife, personal, so things that are personal to me, like my fitness journey or musical theater. Home is anything to do with like, groceries, buying stuff, furniture, things that are around the home. Work, coaching. So coaching is the stuff I do in my TLB club and my TEDx mastery program. And then work speaking is essentially the things that I'm doing for professional speaking. I also consider content part of this. And it put together this entire database for me, which was amazing. It organized everything. And what's even better is that it organized the exact. So then what happened was I said, hey, can you do the same thing with my Google Drive? And so I did the exact same thing. It organized the exact same infrastructure of all my Google Docs in Google Drive. And on top of that, it did the same thing for me in Gmail. So in Gmail, it's actually Gmail. So in Gmail over here, you can see family, personal, home, work, coaching. Everything else is not here yet, but I'm going to put them all. And now everything's organized within these systems. So having the same system is really, really cool. So I love that. So I did love that co-work was doing that for me. However, what's the limitation of Claude Cowork? Well, it can only do certain things. Thanks, Brian, for the tip. I was like, where is this thing? Um, but that's fine. My point about Cowork is that a lot of people are loving Cowork because it's doing all these things for them and implementing things for them. But now I would say that, and it's great. It organized my Google Drive, it organized my Gmail, it organized my laptop files. Fantastic. You have to give it permissions and things like that, and that's fine. But I wanted to do more. And so, and then someone said, "Well, Bobby, you should probably move to Cloud Code. It's better." I'm like, "Okay." And I wasn't sure because I am not a techie. I am not a coder. I'm not a techie. I was very trepidatious of the idea of going into Claude Code because who am I? But again, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what it was. My experience at Claude Code reminded me of back in the day, and I'm going to age myself for anybody who's as old as I am. Back in the day when people were doing website design, I remember there was a website called Dreamweaver, and it was just basically copy paste, shove things in, and you could design a website. I was like, wow, this is cool and in the back end, it was doing all the JavaScript and the coding behind the scene, but you didn't have to worry about it. You would actually just put it together. And I was like, this is great. And so Cloud Code's like that. It basically tells you everything you need to do, and it's very, very simple. So what happens is instead of just doing the cowork, because cowork also had to coordinate with my chief of staff and with my brand voice, and it was a lot of work and all the files. And I'll tell you the other thing happened was I started running out of usage. I was like, man, this is. I always have to work my usage. Okay, what do I do with Haiku or Sonnet or Opus to save stuff? And and I understand a lot of people are afraid of Cloud Code. I get it. So I totally get it. But I was like, I need to, let me dabble a bit. But I also had a couple of people. So Ganesh and John, and part of TLB Club, we have now a weekly Claude and AI co-working session where we take people who are beginners or middle or later to get to that next level. You're all welcome to come by as my guest at least once. If you come twice, I'm going to say, hey, if you like this, you're getting value from me and everybody else, you should join TLB Club. See, it's called the 1% Brand Brilliance up there. That's the name of my Substack, but it's also, it's a feed into, tier 2 and tier 3, which is my paid subscription, as well as, TLB Club, which is my membership community. You get access to me on a regular basis and be part of that community. There's my little plug. So yeah, so co-work. So I started dabbling in code, and one of the things right away that I liked about code was that it would design the processes and systems, including what you're trying to do with um, with the co-work. And so that was way better for me. I actually liked it. It was and anytime I didn't understand something, I would just type something in. I would just type something in. So, it was very good at just, answering my questions if I was confused or not sure about something. So if we go into code here, right? So, I would say something like, I want to reorganize my laptop downloads folder and move them into the the best places on my laptop. And when you say that, what it'll do is it won't just tell you like it'll actually design the process for you, which I thought was really fantastic. And that was really, really cool for me to do it. And so I did love that aspect of it. It really would start doing stuff for me and it would plan with me. And then once I agreed on the plan, it would then execute that plan. Right. And so that's kind of where, Claude Code started to really take off for me. So what happens with Claude Code, as I said, you know, it's a builder, right? So it's building and advising and starts doing stuff with inside your real work. So now what changes here is that it lives on your computer. It reads your files, it writes your files, it runs real tasks, and remembers your whole workspace. But the surprise, as I said before, was it designs systems with you. It'll ask questions, it'll plan, and then once you say yes, it then builds. So my new take, having done this where I'm at now, is I think you can skip co-work. You don't, like if you're dabbling in Claude chat and you built up projects and now you're trying to go to the next level, you can skip co-work. You can go right to Claude Code, and because all the stuff, the co-work is already built in. Now, again, everything has a ceiling. So what's a ceiling? Well, the Claude Code still waits for you. Every task starts because you showed up and you asked a question. Powerful hands, no heartbeat. It's not living, right? So rung two is where AI stops being an app and becomes a colleague. So for me, Claude Code is where, yeah, it became a colleague for me. Okay. And I think that's where, things start to take off for you. And yeah, so I love that aspect. So, all right. So how are you guys doing with me now so far? You guys are following me? Okay. All right. So it looks like a few of you here. If you have any questions, I appreciate you being here. I'm taking you through the journey of Claude Chat and Claude Code. Um, so now I'm dabbling in Claude Code and I'm starting to see all the cool things I could do. So now where are we going with this? Well, I'm always trying to do better and better. So then again, my buddies, and I'm going to cite them, John Aspinall and Ganesh Aryu, they're amazing guys. They're part of my TLB club. Come to our call on Monday and meet them. They're amazing, but they were guiding me. And now, like being a guinea pig, I share my information. I've been a guinea pig for Substack, a guinea pig for LinkedIn, a guinea pig for everywhere. I always share what I'm doing, so you see where I'm at. So the next step for me was adding the connectors, right? So what are the connectors? So the MCP connectors, you can connect to your Gmail, your Google Calendar, to your Stripe, to your Asana, to your Slack, and all that kind of stuff. So if you go to Claude, you can see that there's a section here on connectors. Okay, let's go back to home here. Where's down here? Let's go to no, not that. No, not that. No. Don't want this side. Yeah. Let's go to let's go to connectors. Okay. Apps and extensions. Let's look there. Okay. No, this is the wrong thing. I'm looking for bloody connectors. Where the hell are they? It's funny because I don't use Claude anymore. I use it, which I'll get to in a second. I'm using mostly other stuff here, so that's what's kind of funny. Um, let's see here. Let's do Claude. Claude connectors. There we go. All right. So in the connectors, what I'm doing, this is where you connect type of things. So you connect to different apps. So what I did was, yeah, connected to Asana, Buffer, Canva, Cast Magic, Composio, Fathom, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Condo, Notion, Opus, Clever, Rosespice, Slack, Zebra, and Stripe. So I've connected it with all these different platforms. Okay. Right? And what's great about that is that once it's connected, it can start executing things without needing you to always be handholding it and giving you support, giving you like permissions, things like that. And now it's starting to move really, really fast. And that's where it gets to be pretty exciting too. Oh, wait, am I not showing this screen? I thought I was sharing my screen. Let me do that again. Let me show it to you. Okay, here it is. So over here are the different tools. Asana, right, Canva, Fathom, Gmail, Google Calendar, Drive. So it's connected to all the stuff. So adding those connectors go is a huge next step because then you're going to start integrating things in your work, and that's the next step, right? So you're trying to integrate things. So we go back to this thing. So now we're trying to build what we call your OS brain, your operating system, your whole life and business structured so AI can help run it. So connectors. So I've set up all these connectors that can do things, which is really, really cool. It's important to have guardrails though. I think that's really important. So every time you go up, what are the guardrails? Make sure it's really clear. Nothing public without a human yes. It drafts, you send, judgment stays with you. That's an important piece you want to be able to do. Um, and it also sets up the memory. So one of the ways that I was able to really elevate on Claude Code was actually moving to a platform called Visual Studio Code. So Visual Studio Code was the next step for me, and I'll share why I like it so much. So what we did is share my screen. This time I'm sharing screen number one over here. So what we did in screen number one is you take a look over here and see this. We created, actually, I'll show you something else here. We created the Bobby OS system. So what this is now I now have a Bobby OS folder. It's on my OneDrive. So we're creating something that's platform agnostic. It's something that lives on my OneDrive. It's attached to my laptop. It lives on my OneDrive. And now Claude Code can access this. And this is Visual Studio Code. So this is kind of what I'm using to, start conversations and whatnot. But there's lots here that's really amazing. So what's amazing here is that you can see that, and it's created. My chief of staff is here. It also has actually let's just close this. Chief of staff. So I have my archive. I have my chief of staff, which is I also have my family, personal home, work coaching. I also have my work speaking, and then it has my brand voice. So all of it's here. What's happening is that this is the brain. It's accessing everything online whenever it needs to because now it has all these documents within here that are part of the brain that I'm creating. And within, work coaching, I have all these different things for DYPB, networking, TEDx, TLB Club. Under speaking, I have all my stuff under my content machine, LinkedIn Locals, my podcast, my speaking pipeline, my Substack, all this kind of stuff. So this is pretty amazing that way. And then, family, I have things like, a website for my kids, all that kind of stuff. Personal, I have an entire thing for acting and health and fitness. So it has all the stuff here. And so that's really great because it starts to really put together what I need to do. Now, there's even more things here. So what happens is I also have now, you've probably heard of skills. So developing skills. So every morning I do what's called the morning briefing. So I click in morning briefing, and what it does is it'll go through all my Gmail inbox, replies, sent, things like that. It'll go through all my Google Calendar for the next 2 weeks. It understands my brand voice and my operator brief, how I operate. It then looks through Stripe for any payments or payments outstanding that didn't work. It goes through my calendar. It goes through Google Drive, anything else, and it also goes through all my LinkedIn messages. And from that, it then says, okay, here are your top 3 things you need to do today, which is amazing. So, and I see Brian's asked a question here. I've gotten heavy into Cowork after switching all my products from Claude Chat. I think Cowork is building code. Yeah, what percent of code we say is similar framework to code? Um, oh, I see. Well, listen, first off, you definitely should switch to code, okay? And basic Cowork is within the code system. So when you're talking to it, the only difference is that now it's designing processes with you, designing the plan with you, and then it's executing the same way. So I'll show you something else here, which is interesting. So you see over here, this is what you see. So on Visual Studio, I love Visual Studio. VS Code is fantastic. So normally I edit automatically, and there's auto, which is a common thing you have. But there's also plan. So it'll explore the code and present the plan for editing. And then what I love now is I have bypass permissions because once I've built the trust on what I'm doing, it just does it. And it still asks me questions for things that are missing, but it doesn't have to ask me for every single little thing that I'm doing. Um, I can run the morning briefing, right now and see what happens. So what it does is it's just basically running, and it's going through. Like I know it's end of day, but it's doing it. It's not the morning briefing, but the 2 things I do is every morning, and the other thing that the morning briefing does, it accesses my open loops document, which essentially is it's a database of everything that I have as tasks and projects to do that I haven't done yet. Because at the end of every day, it also tracks what did you work on today? What have you not done? What are some follow-ups? And it goes in. Now see where it says PowerShell here? Normally it would ask you, should I run PowerShell? No, bypass permissions. Should I run PowerShell? No, bypass. So it's doing that. It's going through all my stuff. So now you can see it's going through my OneDrive. It's looking at the Bobby OS. It's on trying to understand what's going on with all this, and it's figuring out. But what happens by the end of it is they get an amazing tool that lays out here's what's urgent, here are the top 3 priorities, here's what you need to work on, and that's phenomenal for me. I love that it does that. So it's going through it'll go through my emails too. It goes through my Google Calendar. It's like all these things are really, really helpful. So I do love that. It also and what I've done too is I've set up on, uh do I have Chrome here? Nope, I don't need that one. Hold on. I also have Chrome open. So, in order to access my LinkedIn messages through Tricondo, it can now go through all my messages on LinkedIn to see if there's anything I haven't actually looked at. So it's called Tricondo. I have a referral link if you want to get access to a free month. Let me know because it's an amazing tool. Because I've been able to tag all of my connections on LinkedIn, and now that I've connected, it can search through all my LinkedIn messages and see which ones I need to respond to. And we can even set up, conversations, but, and then I send them myself. But this to me is fantastic. I love this. So this is something, it's going through this as well. Let's go back to, so it's still thinking, which is fine. Let's go back. Let me just go back to my, you know, oops, hold on. Oops, what happened here? Hold on. Okay. So let's stop sharing. I'm going to let it ruminate for a bit and figure that out. But I definitely think there's a huge benefit for using Claude Code and then getting to Visual Studio Code. I'm going to show you how. The reason I like Visual Studio Code too is because you can see the Bobby OS system on the side. You can see like the files and what it's looking at, where they all are, and where they are on your laptop or on your OneDrive, so you can quickly get them. And then I also find it faster. I find it a little bit faster than Claude Code, so I do like that about it. And so for me, uh, yeah, Brian, I think just dabble in Claude Code, man. You'll see it's a whole different level. But I think that the rails of code or sort of the code work is there. Everything you built the code work is all there. You can just basically, but when you build that separate operating system, then you kind of see how that works. Okay, looks like it's done. So I'm going to show you what it came up with. Do, 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 do. And thanks everyone for joining me. I appreciate you guys being here. Okay. So, all right. So here's what it's come up with. So let's see here. Okay. You guys can see this. So it came up with, okay. So here's what it did. It said, okay, 3 things that matter now. Nick replied, your weekend work is Saturday only because I'm busy on Sunday. 9 drafts are staged and waiting for me to look at and review. First thing, reply and send the 9 drafts tonight if you have 30 minutes. So it's telling me what to do. Tomorrow, here's my schedule, what's going on. Sunday, we're going away to some music camp. A couple things here. Also, Maddie rescheduled, and Jeanette sent a message. Jeremy sent a call transcript. Yeah, things I need to look at. Cool. Hey, there's Brian Cleveland. Brian, I mentioned you in a note during the stream. Nice engagement signal for tonight's run. Thanks, Brian. So that's great. And then housekeeping. Some go high level accounts didn't work, so we had to fix that. No problem. And then want me to knock out the shortlist? Not yet, but it. So and then sometimes they'll say, "What do you want to do?" I'll say, "Well, actually, I have other thing I want to do." I said, "Actually, I want you to do this," or I take the top 3 things it says and I do it. And then after I'm done my day, I do a thing called session close. And what session close does, it takes everything we've done the entire day. It then saves it in my OpenLoops document, which is now in my Bobby OS here, and it saves it to be used the next day. Okay. Another thing that I think is really incredible about this is what I have down below here. See this here, this terminal that I've created? So I create a terminal which connects to my OneDrive, my documents, my Bobby OS. And what this does is, and this is bloody brilliant, I'm going to share this with you. You're going to love this. What this does is now I can integrate with Claude Code and Visual Studio Code and access my entire laptop as long as it's running from my phone. So what happens is I go out, let's say I'm going out for a coffee or out for lunch or maybe I'm away somewhere. I can talk to it on my phone, Claude Claude Code, but it connects to the terminal on my laptop that's sitting here, and it does stuff for me. It's way better than Dispatch. It's way better than the other stuff. So for me, like that to me is phenomenal too. So that is also another really incredible thing that you can do with this stuff. So let's keep talking about. Make sure I'm keeping track on where we're at here because if you have questions about what I'm doing, like great, but this is meant to be kind of like exactly what I'm doing. So what I've done now, I've set up the connectors, the guardrails, the memory, and then there's also agents now. So I have agents and what they're called agents or schedules or skills. So a skill would be morning briefing. A skill would be the session close. A skill would be a LinkedIn post review. It analyzes it. A skill would be a TEDx application review. So these are skills that I've created. You can also download a bunch of them online. So that's kind of where we're at now. Let's see. Yeah. So so now I have this OS brain, which is pretty amazing, all the things it's done. So then I was like, okay, now that I have this, what else can I do? And so it's doing things even when I'm not even around, which is amazing. I love that part about this because I basically will tag it to do something, and it even does things in the background while I'm working, or it does some things overnight. But here's where it starts to really game change because now I have. Actually, I'm gonna stop sharing for a second. So what I have, I went from Claude Chat, Claude projects. Then I dabbled in co-work, which you can now skip. I went to Claude Code. I then started using Visual Studio Code, which connects to Claude Code. I then set up my Bobby OS, which is my operating system, which is the brain of everything, and everything's there and everything lives there. I find Visual Studio Code is even faster than Claude Code. I can also bypass permissions, so it saves me a lot of time. And now I'm able to do all these things. So what started happening is I started to really start building up what I was trying to do. I see another question by Brian. So with code and Visual Studio Code, is your memory now basically housed in VS? No. See, great question. It's not because I created a Bobby OS OneDrive, which is connected to my laptop, but also on my own OneDrive. I now have something that's what we call um, uh, platform agnostic. So some people are using Obsidian to create this, and from what I understand, Obsidian is great if you're a beginner and don't know how to set that up. I found Visual Studio Code pretty good too. So now that I'm locked in, I'm with it. I'm happy with it. But it doesn't really matter. I can still use Claude Code. I can still use Visual Studio Code. I can still use my phone. I could set up Obsidian if I want to. But to me, like that's great. Um, is it still in your computer local files? Yeah. So, well, see the projects. Yeah. So the projects are already embedded within the Bobby OS. So I don't have to use project folders anymore. It's all there. See, that's the thing. So having to go between different projects and navigate that, now that I have the OS system, I don't have to do that anymore. So that's what's really good. Is Google Drive like the backup memory now to VSC? No, no, it's not actually. So the backup memory is the what we call the session called the open loops document. We save that, and it keeps. So there's two things that it's doing. It keeps a history of all my work and everything that I changed and adjusted, and it keeps updating the Bobby OS system. It also will update my open loops document, which is all my tasks and projects that I'm working on that I have maybe forgotten about or didn't do, and it's all there. So it keeps updating that every day because I have a session close skill that I run. Okay, so back to sharing my screen. These are all great questions, man. Okay, so now what's the next level? So so what did this look? What this look like this week? Okay, so real outputs from my OS brain, not a demo. So here's what happened, right? I had 9 follow-up emails and DMs drafted from today's call recordings while I prepped this stream. I was doing this right. It was happening while I was on the stream. It took me 1 day to turn a legal demand letter into a complete evidence file for my lawyers. I basically got Claude Code and VS Code to go through all my emails histories with this organization and put together and all through the different websites, their website, my website, to put together a strategy to then send to my lawyer for review in 1 day. Uh, I set up some replies to people in my niche, and also I did a server experiment that failed, but it taught me more than wins did, and that's fine. You can ask me about it. But yeah, I was trying to do agents through Grok, and it didn't work, but that's fine. But the main point here is that I'm doing some really complicated stuff that I never would have done as a non-techie. None of this required being a programmer. It required climbing one rung at a time. So one of the things that I did was I launched a podcast and I connected Buzzsprout to Spotify to all these different things. And normally I'd be so nervous about doing that, but it told me what to do and how to do it. So I just followed the steps and I did it. I set up stuff on Go High Level to then set up connectors with all my social media platforms on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, whatnot. And it showed me how to do it step by step. Um, so what's amazing is that it tells you step by step, even the hard techie stuff. And if you can't figure it out, what happens is I'll screen save, right? So you'll see in my downloads a whole bunch of screen saves, right? Because whenever I'm confused, so here's an example of something it helped me try to set up. It was trying to help me set up a server on a thing called Hertz. What's it called? Sorry, it's taking some time here. Um, Yeah, so Hetzner console, I was trying to create a server, and so it took a while to figure this out, right? But it looks complicated. If you were a non-techie, you looked at this, what the hell do I do, right? But Claude Code gave me step by step what to do. Okay, this is not good. So I share a screen, say, we need to fix this one. Don't click on this yet. Okay, go back to security here, and look at the servers. It would tell me everything that I need to do. So I have a lot of screenshots on my on my downloads because I'm always asking it to show me stuff and what to do, like help me with this and help me, So it's something that it's always doing for me, which I think is really really good. Okay, so I love that. But let me tell you even some more crazy things that I've done. And let's stop sharing now. So what are some of the crazy things that I've done? Well, um, I went through my entire YouTube database. And another tool to use Composio, fantastic Composio. I love Composio. It's a multi MCP connector. So what happens is I can connect several Instagram accounts. I can connect several Gmail accounts. That's actually really good. Good for my family too, for different Gmail calendars and stuff. And what I did was I said, well, can you access all my stuff? And so it designed a system to go through all of my YouTube videos. I had about 2,000 YouTube videos from the past 15 years. It found them all. It downloaded them. It created a structure of what they're all about. It got a transcript for every single one of them. And it basically took all that knowledge and added to my knowledge database of everything I've ever done or talked about. 2,000. It found 100 of my podcasts and downloaded the transcript of what I said, put that in the Bobby knowledge database. It found about 100 audio rooms that I did on Twitter Spaces and Clubhouse. It downloaded the transcript and then put that in the database. Um, it and then because I had it downloaded 60,000 tweets I had put in the last 17 years on Twitter that are my words, my original stuff. It also looked at all my PowerPoints, all my documents, all my blogs, everything, and the database has every single thing I've done, literally thousands and thousands of documents and videos and transcripts of me talking like my whole life. So it knows everything I've ever said or talked about. And because I have all this database now, it said, hey, you know what? You have a lot of really cool files that are video and audio. Maybe you should start a podcast. I'm like, I've been on 300 podcasts, but I've never had my own podcast. Yeah, Composio is really good at that. Yes, the Composio allows you to multiple connect. And so actually, I can show you if that really helps. But again, going back to my story, I downloaded. So I did. I said, hey, let's launch a podcast. So it took all my audio and video recordings, and just took snippets of things I thought was really good based on what I want to talk about, and it created a podcast for me, which is crazy. I never would have done that, and it does this stuff, and it tells me, okay, Bobby, you need to just upload these files. Here's what I recommend. What do you think? Okay, great. Let's do this. It creates the image for me, and we upload it. It tells me what to do. I upload it, and then I basically batch. Actually, I can show you again because God, there's so much stuff I can show you guys. I feel like this is like part one of many things I can talk about. So let's first talk about Composio. Composio dashboard. Is this right? Will this work? Okay. Yeah. So here's Composio, and so this is where here's my that's not the one I want. Let's go to Composio. Let's just log in and see what happens. Meanwhile, I'll show you what I did on Buzzsprout. So Buzzsprout's where I created the uh, the the um, the podcast, right? So here are all the podcasts. So we've already uploaded a bunch of them all the way to September 1st, but now I got to do some more. But what's great about this is that this is fantastic. Like here's my latest podcast that launched on the 18th, and it came with the image. I have like the description. It set this all up for me. It's amazing. Transcript and the episode's live. So now I now have these podcasts that you can see. Here are all the podcasts that I've run. So I just started, right? So 7 downloads is fine. Yeah, I'm just starting out, but it took snippets from my life. I did a 12-minute segment about vulnerability. I did a 27-minute segment on stories. I did a 1 hour session on building authority, how the TEDx talk, why story matters. These are all, and it's turning them all into podcasts, and now they're going to different places. It's going to Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, where I'm all listed. This is fantastic, right? So I love that. Going back to Composio, man, where's the? Um, okay, well, can't seem to find where I want to. Um, okay, well, let's see, auto. I want to find out where it is. Okay, Middle Playground. Okay, well, uh, I can't find it. Maybe let me see. I'll have to find one more thing here since some of you are here with me. Compo. Let's see. Let's do this dashboard. See if this works. I want to be able to show the dashboard. Okay, I think this is it. Yeah, yeah. So see up here, connect apps. So let me show you what's happening here with connect apps. So to Brian's question, so here Gmail is connected to just one. However, Google Calendar is connected to three because I want to see what my kids are doing. YouTube, I have 6 channels, so it's connected to all 6 of those channels. That's really cool. I also did recently, let me show you Instagram. Um, Instagram, I connected to 3 because I have 3 channels on Instagram, so it connected to all 3 of them. That's why Composio is so great. Okay, so that's really cool. All right, let's stop sharing now. So yeah, so I did the Buzzsprout thing. I used Composio, which is really great. And what's happening now is I'm just thinking about what else can I possibly do with this platform. There's just so much I can do. And now, like now that I've downloaded my entire database of knowledge. Man, there's so much more I can do. And now that I've launched a podcast, I have systems. And the other thing it did was it creates apps for me. So I was like, is there a way for me to, so one of the things we learned is, using Tricondo and LinkedIn, we were able to find a way to set up messages in my brand voice to respond to people. It reads the stuff, it then responds to it. I still have to click send, but that's fine. I'm saving time. I've been able to create an app to do something for me that I really wanted to do. Like it can fly through, and it codes Python for me. It's doing some amazing things for me. And I'm at the point now, like, what else can I do with this? Because I'm just doing, I think my next level is really, I'm looking into creating agents that work together and talk together. I don't know much about it, but this non-techie here is now able to think about these things and talk about those things and try to plan for these things. I'm also sharing my knowledge with everybody else because I know that everybody wants to learn how to do this stuff, whether they're, and again, I'm now riding a very fast motorcycle in the world of AI, to use my analogy from the beginning, because I am now doing these things and I'm doing a lot more things, and I'm helping people in my programs to learn how to do this stuff and show them. I basically spend every Monday at 4 p.m. for an hour taking people who are either walking or riding a bike or a tricycle and help them learn how to get to the car or the train. So this is what I've been doing. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, you can see all my stuff. And of course, if you're following me, my name is Bobby, and I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker, a Link Magazine top 100 leadership speaker. I am also a 2-time LinkedIn top voice. And the reason why I talk about this stuff is to share that, I think there's so much here that we can help you figure out with Claude Code, because I think it's a game changer for how you organize different aspects of your life. And ultimately it's doing 2 things. It is scaling the things that I can do on a regular basis, at the same time saving me lots and lots of time. That's a win-win for me. And so if you want to learn more about this, I would say come by our 4 p.m. Claude Code AI co-working session, which is happening on Monday at 4 p.m. We're also doing a tech clinic next week, Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. you're more than likely to come. You're more than welcome to come to that. I'm happy to share what it is. But I think that again, it's a big game changer to learn how this stuff works and how to do it. I appreciate all you guys who've joined me today. And again, pretty much do live streams every week. I won't be doing one next week. I'm going away to a music camp with my kids, but I'll be back again in September. And also, I'm bringing in some guest speakers. Some of the people I met on Substack are fantastic, and so I'm talking to a few of them. I have to remember who some of them are, but I'm very excited to work with them and see if they come on a call with me. Let me see. I did one with Claudia Faith before. I did one with Philip. Forget his last name. But I'm working with I did one with David McElroy. I'm working to see if I can get Derek Hughes and I are going to do one. Ryan Hennessy and I are going to do one. Anjanette Carter and I are hopefully going to do one. So we're thinking about these things. We're going to be back. We're going to be sharing stuff. It's going to be awesome. So I think you're going to have a lot of fun being part of that. So if you have any questions on this session, by all means, message me and if you like this, please share it with your network. Let people know what insights you got out of it. You can also check out the snippets of this on my YouTube channel. But last thing I'll say is look, if you like what I'm doing and you want more transformative knowledge and information and support, try subscribing to tier 2 of the 1% brand brilliance. It's only $7 a month, 60 something bucks a year. Subscribe. I'd love to see you be part of that, because once you do that, then you'll get access to a monthly call with me. You'll get access to more transformative documents and materials that you're going to find really good. So take a look at my Substack site. What's there? And if you want to go to the next level, which is TLB Club, you can go to tier 3, which is TLB Club, and that's kind of where I'm going to help you. You basically get access to my membership community. You get access to all my calls, and I do a lot of them. And you get access to a private community on Heartbeat and a private community on WhatsApp, where you can ask me questions and I make myself available. So with that, guys, I've been talking for a while, so my God. Thanks everyone for being part of this conversation. Hope I shared as much knowledge as I could. I think I forgot to share one last thing of the slides, so I better make sure I do that. Otherwise, I want to make sure I'm thorough here. Ah, yes, right. So one of the big things is, and I'll review this, right, from Claude Chat to Claude Code, right? The 3 rungs. So first rung is the Claude Chat and projects, then Claude Code, then build OS Brain. So Claude Chat and project, I explained what it was. Then I talked about Claude Code. I said skip code work. Then you build the OS Brain through Visual Studio Code or Obsidian, whatever that might be, and the MC connectors. I shared some of the things I'm doing this week, but also the larger scale things done. I also wrote a book. Did I mention that? Yeah, it created a 50,000 word book. I mean, from all my material. So start where you are, climb one rung. You have any questions? Great. Keep climbing with me. BobbyUmar.substack.com, the 1% brand brilliance, weekly letters and live streams like this one. Hope you found it really useful. So, all right. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have yourself a wonderful, when do I sleep? Well, that's the thing, Brian. What am I going to do after this? I'm leaving. I'm leaving because, and Claude Cowork can do stuff for me while I'm sitting around doing something else. Maybe I'll go watch Star Trek, the Strange New Worlds episode. I can do whatever. That's what's great. I'm saving time. So when do I sleep? I sleep normally. I go to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock. I get up at 7:30, and I'm getting 8.5 hours of sleep every night. And and this has saved me so much time. I can't even tell you. I can't even tell you how much time it's saved. So if you want to save time, there's so many things you're doing like, oh, I hate doing that. That's exactly where Claude Code and setting up systems and processes and skills is where it saves time. And I think the last thing I'll say is, how do you maintain the human? Well, as I told you in the beginning, the entire foundation was the Bobby brand voice, where they interviewed me with 100 questions. The Bobby chief of staff, which was knowing about me and my personality and the things in my life, the people in my life. I explained all that kind of stuff, and that's the operator brief. And then that's the foundation. And then anything that comes up that I want to change or adjust, I always tell it. It then adds it to the database of knowledge. So that now, people like, what about content? Well, I create 2 LinkedIn posts by myself. I get it to create 2 LinkedIn posts. I then share with my friends. Which one was code? Which one was me? And they can't tell anymore because it talks like me and it knows the way. Now, sometimes I find a few small things like a month ago, I was like, you know what? I typically talk in contractions. I don't say will not and have not and could not. I'd say couldn't, can't, won't. So you should change that. I mean, that's more for formal documents, not for, posts or whatever, talking about stuff. And so, okay, great. So they adjusted that and they created a new rule for that. So you find a few things, but we're talking about going from 95% to 98%, right? And I think that's really really interesting in terms of how that works. Um, and you keep the human by making human part of the foundation, and the human who makes the decision, the human that actually is leveraging things. And yeah, so what this is me live on a camera. This is it's typically me responding to stuff. Um, but even like when I send a message on LinkedIn and there's a response there, the response is something that was written for me with all the knowledge I have. The best part though is that it's taking the entire history of our conversation and creating a much more meaningful message. In case I forget stuff, because I'm ADHD, I forget things. But then I look at it, I read the message. Okay, this is good. Send. So, you know, instead of me writing it with less context in, let's say, 5 minutes, Claude Code's writing it for me in literally 10 seconds. I review for 20 seconds and we send it. Right. So that's where I'm saving time. All right. So, wow, I'm doing this for an hour. Have yourself a wonderful weekend, guys. I'm off next week. Take care of yourself, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Please subscribe to the 1% Brand Building Institute. Please subscribe to the next level, tier two. And if you really want to level up with me together, and we join hands, hand holding the journey, join tier three, which is TLP Club. All right. Talk soon, everybody. Take care.